Hi, I'm Paul Bowman, CEO at Wexer, the digital fitness specialists who deliver over 25 million fitness experiences per year for our partners worldwide. Welcome to the Wexer podcast, where I'll be speaking to industry experts to bring you insights and advice to support your business journeys. In today's episode, I'll be chatting with Amy Thompson, owner and CEO at IDEA. How are you, Amy?
I am doing so well. Nice to see you.
Quick note to listeners. We've actually done this before. It didn't record. So this is round 2. So it's going to be even better.
Absolutely. We just got to practice a dress rehearsal in. That's all.
Exactly. So, hey, the question I asked to all guests is, did fitness find you or did you find fitness?
A little bit of both. So my journey it actually started in sport, and I'll start with a personal background. I am one of 10 children, and I'm a third born. So we had 5 boys and 5 girls, which is a natural 5-on-5 basketball team. And so I was raised competing for literally everything, including food, clothes, a bedroom, all of it. But what that did was it allowed for me to compete in basketball and volleyball. And I played both sports in college. I played Division I basketball and volleyball.
That's a tough feat to play both.
I know. Now, in all fair, it was Division I, so you can't play them both at the same time. So what I did, junior college, I played actually 3 sports. I did track and field as well. And then I went to Division I for my basketball scholarship, and I had school to finish. So they paid for my 5th year of college, and I got to play volleyball as well. And I went to the NCAA playoffs that year.
Nice, very well done. And then how did that lead into getting into the health and fitness?
Yeah, so I'm 51 this year, and I'm just going to put that out there so any of you early 70s babies out there can relate. Being a woman and growing up in the 80s and in that time, I really didn't see a lot of careers that felt like that they were where I could go. I mean, I aspired to maybe be a coach, and I had a specialty in athletic training. So I thought I might tape ankles and help with injuries and be a mom. Like, that was my whole vision for myself. And so when I got my degree is kinesiology. Well, sorry, it was before kinesiology existed. So I'm a physical and health education K through 12 with my specialty in athletic training. I started personal training at a club right out of college while I was going to sports massage therapy school, while I was an assistant strength coach at my own alma mater. So that probably sounds familiar to a lot of your listeners.
Yes, yeah.
The moonlighting. And the contrast of those 3 experiences was tremendous. I absolutely fell in love with personal training. I was working at an all women's club, and, I showed up at work every day, and they were grateful. They were happy to be there. I was inspired by their journey. They were inspired to show up and reach their goals. And so that sent me on a trajectory for 3 decades now of being in the industry.
And what's the one bit of advice that you would take, or you would say? I guess there's so many. I know we'll get into it a little bit more, but there's so many different options, and you took I would actually say a pretty traditional path, right? You going from personal training to management. What would be your one bit of advice that the listeners that are listening and trying to increase their career opportunities within health and fitness?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say at that point, follow your heart. Of course, you have to pay the bills, but early in your career, I encourage trainers and anyone I mentor to try everything, but also follow your passions and your heart. So make sure that even while you're paying the bills and doing some things you may not want to be doing as much, make sure that you're filling your life and some of your day-to-day with your passions as well. And that will take you one step closer, and you might start to be able to connect the dots, which is what I've been able to do with my career.
Solid bit of advice. So then let's flip the gear to IDEA. So, idea's been a focal point for what, 40 years now.
Yes.
So like, and you know, with this, there's been a lot that happened in the last, well, let's say since COVID with idea. So which we'll peel the onion back a little bit. But what, you know, how have you kept the platform relevant in a ever constant changing landscape?
Yeah, well, it's an ongoing process. But I'll start with, some of your listeners may not know who IDEA is if they've been hiding under a rock for the last 40 years. So I'll start with the fact that IDEA Health and Fitness Association is a professional association for fitness professionals, but also for business owners. And so we don't certify professionals, but we capture them when they're contemplating a career in fitness and health, or once they've become certified or graduate. And then we really hold their hand through the rest of their career and all of their aspirations. So we do that through our business resources, our insurance, but also our in-person events, which I know we'll talk about today. So all that said, it is a challenge, right? I mean, I know we want to talk more about how the pandemic impacted this association and our industry, but really, I see that as the biggest opportunity with this role, is to both honor the great legacy that got us to this point as the leading association, but also, like, how do we reinvent and evolve and innovate to meet the needs of our future professionals?
And what is the biggest challenge at the moment that you're facing? Let's get into it.
Where do I start? So I think a lot of your listeners are leaders, so they can probably relate to the fact that one day I was the vice president of the company, and the very next day I'm the CEO and owner of the same company. And so in that shift,
what led to that? What led to that transition? Yeah, what happened?
Yeah, so that's the number one question I'm asked, actually. Yeah. How did this all happen?
Yeah.
So after 30 years in the industry, I thought my dream job was to lead IDEA and come in as the VP. At the time, its founders had sold it to a private equity group, and we were sitting with a portfolio of about 41 other brands that were all in the media space, and they were consumer-facing brands. So powerhouses like Yoga Journal, Clean Eating, Better Nutrition. I was actually hired to run Oxygen Magazine, as well as IDEA and IDEA Fitness Journal, et cetera. So during the pandemic, we were sold to a different equity group, again, the whole portfolio. And all the while, we were having trouble finding our way at the same time as all of the challenges of the pandemic were facing the association. We all know how many businesses and professionals we lost during the pandemic. The media space was hit really hard. And then we're an in-person event company. And so we had all the challenges of converting to digital and virtual events, et cetera. So, it was ongoing conversations with our leadership group as they were getting to know who we were. And we all realized that we were very, very different than the rest of the brands in the portfolio. Sure. And so one day we had the conversation, what's next for IDEA? And I literally jumped out of my chair and I said, it's me. It's always been me. Please help me buy this company.
Right.
And so they did. So 2 months later, I owned the company.
Was it the jump? Was it the passion?
Yes. Well, it's crazy. So leading up to that point, I have a business coach who is my mentor, who's been, she was helping me through a lot of the challenges through the pandemic. And she was always in my ear, trying to convince me what was next for me. What's bigger? You're VP, you have this big job, but what's next for you personally? And I was like, nope, IDEA is where it's at. Like, that's what I want. That's what I want. Okay. Meanwhile, my husband's in my other ear saying, you could do this on your own. This is like all of your experiences culminating into one. And I kept saying, no, I love IDEA. It's been part of my professional journey for over my 30 years. And so I guess because I had that fire burning so deep inside of me, it just came out in that moment. And so we had a lot to figure out, but they believed in me. And in the end, they let me carve the company out.
And some would say that a carve out is actually harder, right? Like in terms of the political side of why, when, what time, how, price, who, do you know what I mean? Rather than, actively agreeing that this is the time to sell, so let's do it, or, grabbing a fantastic offer. So was that a difficult transition for you personally?
Well, we had spent the previous 5 years integrating into these other companies. And so we had done that twice. And I think at that point, some of our processes were definitely intertwined. And so I think the hardest part was deciding what resources would be carved out with IDEA. And fortunately, we had retained not about half of our staff through that time versus the previous 5 years. So they naturally came with, but I did have to find some replacements for some of the services that had been centralized.
Yeah. I feel like I could talk to you the whole time on this process. So I'll move to I guess let's talk about the professionals that you're helping and playing such an important role of right now. How much has their role changed? Part one of the question since COVID, and then how are you supporting them with that change?
Yeah. So we try to keep a really good pulse on what's happening with our professionals. So we work with a lot of independent professionals, but also a lot who work in big box, boutique, studio, franchise, corporate, collegiate, all aspects of fitness. And, probably the biggest change that we personally have heard and seen now versus pre-pandemic is that a professional used to identify as, I am an employee of this company and I have these side hustles. And that's completely changed now. Professionals say, I am my own business and I choose to work here, 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 and here. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest shift, that now the professional is empowered to train when they want, where they want. They are not as, maybe it was just a mindset before, but they might have had a limitation of a mindset that they were only, they could only work in a box with all the equipment there with them. So that's all shifted. People see themselves as in business for themselves. And where IDEA enters is helping them to have all the resources they need to be successful no matter where they teach. And so we can help them, again, at any point through their career and also wherever they choose to teach or to coach.
And we saw our own platform, we've had trainers that, I knew in the UK that I thought were amazing, but they were just so used to delivering, 35 sessions a week. It forced them to go on camera and it forced them to realize their own brand worth, I think. And now they're, content creators and influencers or whatever we say these days. And so we've seen that transition, but that only happens to the, maybe 1%, 2%. Like, is that where it's going? Have we got like the cream of the crop is rising and realizing their own brand equity and seeing how powerful they are, and we're losing a lot that don't understand that, and that's a big part of the IDEA process is to try and professionalize that, or is that am I wrong in my thinking?
So there's a percentage of people who are electing to run their own virtual studios, or like in your case, they have their own catalog of classes and they choose to put that wherever they want and financially benefit from that. But there still is the bulk of the professionals are working in traditional avenues because they don't maybe have the desire to run their own business. So there still are a great number of professionals who do work as a W-2 here in the US. That's an employed position. And we're also seeing new people coming in, new talent coming into the industry. And so last year at our IDEA World event, we had an overwhelming number of first-time attendees, but also new to the industry. And so that was really exciting because I know while a lot of owners are struggling to find talent right now, that was promising that they truly are coming into the industry. So we see our job to connect career pathways for them and also teach them our highest standards and processes whereby they could be qualified to teach in different areas in our industry.
And we kind of, if it's anything, we always believe in, to grow and to capture people's attention, you always need to have stars. And those stars will inspire other stars, like you see in the NBA. And, if you look at most sports, you could probably re-engineer everything back to the star, and that's what's growing the sport. And this is the same with digital fitness platforms. But is that what's growing the participants in because there's so many stars now, like fitness influencers and stuff? Or is it completely, is it the young generation coming through to wanting to be health professionals, or is it actually engaging with the older generations as well?
Yeah, I think of that two ways. Well, first, anytime, like I remember back to the recession we had years and years ago. Yes, we lost a lot of professionals at that time too, because they had to go seek full-time work. But other people were leaving their traditional corporate jobs to come to fitness. And so I think, especially with the pandemic, where it really underlined that we need to live healthy lifestyles, we're seeing people leave other jobs and coming to the health and fitness industry to seek a career that's more meaningful to them. So that's one way I would answer that question. But to your point about the stars and the influencers, ideas always had the biggest stage in the industry. So if you want to be seen as the person who teaches professionals, if you are the one that they're inspiring to be, if you want that microphone, you want to be on a stage, you want to be an author or a presenter, you come to Idea World. Like that's just known. So
no brainer.
That's the other, it's a no-brainer. So that's the other reason that we see, like, we have the stars. The stars are at the show, and we're looking for the next aspiring stars to put them on stage as well.
Yeah, and it's a great way. I'm talking to a few people that have went to the show, and essentially they're saying because I guess I didn't realize or appreciate so many of those stars are actually quite isolated. You know, a lot of them are just delivering stuff to camera. They've got their editing team around them. They don't actually engage a lot with other stars. And so that was just an awesome place where they can network and share their knowledge and stuff. So I just, would like to, plug that a little bit, Amy. But going back to the industry health outcomes, like, do you think we're doing enough from your perspective?
For our professionals?
Well, just to improve everyone's health outcomes, are we talking about it enough? Are we training people enough? What's the thought pattern?
Yeah, I'm certainly, we could always be doing more and trying to reach more people. I think, we're getting better at meeting people where they're at. And I think that was our biggest limitation that we as an industry put on ourselves is, we were saying, you have to do this. I'll use the example, you have to run a marathon. Starting with a little walk around the neighborhood is just not good enough. That's an extreme example, but we were always like kind of forcing the extreme aspect of being fit. And what I think we're doing a much better job of is now meeting people where they are. And that came simply from us meeting them in video in their living rooms. Like, what is more vulnerable than showing your living room to someone and letting them in your home? That, I think, really changed the perspective of a lot of coaches and instructors. Is they realize just, how people really just needed a step in the right direction. And running a marathon is just way down the road, if at all. But that's not important at all. Taking the first step and getting moving is what's most important. So I think we have a long way to go in terms of helping more people, but through the tools that technology is bringing and through our ability to meet more people where they are, I think we're doing a better job. Yeah,
well done. Yeah, that's great to hear. And then I guess kind of same question, but also on the mental health side.
Oh, goodness. I love that we are at least talking about it. I mean, just the fact that you and I are talking about it in this interview is amazing. Awareness is everything. And it's the first step in us helping more people just to recognize that it is part of our holistic health. And so I think it's exciting that that in our industry now, we are having training for fitness professionals, even for anyone working in a health club. And I don't mean that we're stepping out of scope of practice to help people or identify, but I'm saying that now there are trainings that we can take where we become a first responder, if you will. I think that's what it's called, actually, a mental health first responder.
It is, yes. Yeah.
And so I think that's really exciting. And again, it's part of our holistic health, and it is absolutely intertwined with someone, reaching whatever goals they have, or simply showing up to begin a movement or exercise program.
Yeah. And is Idea putting more, I imagine you are putting more focus on that, because, it's one of those things where, and me and you have both trained, and many listeners have trained people, that relationship is so close. Like, I still, after not being as a personal trainer for nearly 20 years now, I still have my people that I used to train reach out to me. So that shows how that bond is so strong. But the thing is, you got to also have the tools to help them when you understand that there are some mental health issues. Like, is that's becoming more focused for you with yourselves?
It is, yeah. So if you look at our program for our in-person events or any of the courses and the articles that we write, we've covered mental health extensively. And so, yes, we now have a better rounded program, again, to teach professionals what their role is in addressing and identifying mental health and its overall role in our health.
If I had a hat, I would take my hat off. Yeah. So then let's hit some predictions here, Amy. So what are your predictions for the future of an inspiring, fitness professional?
All right. Well, first of all, there are so many different avenues whereby a fitness professional can take their career. And I'll go back to that time I shared when I was coming out of college or even thinking about going to college. Like there just weren't as many options or as many pathways that we could see at that time. So there's exponential different directions where you could expand your career. I'm excited about that. I'm also really excited. I have to confess, I was binging on some of your previous episodes and I was listening to conversations with Owen and some of the other interviewees who were talking about AI. And I'm excited about what that could do to enhance our profession, but I still am going to be bullish on in-person, and live is always best. But it is also cost prohibitive in some cases. It is, we can't reach the masses in that way. So I love that technology and even AI can assist in getting more people moving. But if you need the most accountability and the highest outcomes or positive outcomes, in person and live is always going to be best.
I actually, there's becoming a bit of a buzzword, which I'll share with you and listeners, is that it's how to get them to live. So we've always had we did a research article about it's about confidence, right? So how do you improve someone's confidence is actually you're always going to go, once your confidence is higher, you're going to be more engaged with the physical rather than the digital. But then AI helps that, right? In terms of understanding that big data, what they're searching for, or to then how to get them to live. Because I think everywhere, it's not even an argument. It's the live is the best thing for our industry. That's how we change lives, but it's how you support that environment. And I think that's really cool for trainers, because it's just how do they work with technology to get to there, right?
Yeah, you just reminded me. So I used to work with Les Mills prior to coming to IDEA, and I was in business development here in the U.S. And one of the statistics that they had learned from their research was that the video classes that they were doing, the on-demand, if you will, were actually increasing live classes by 12%. So it's absolutely, it's a gateway, right? And once they get the bug or they get moving or they get past some of their initial obstacles, then hopefully we're hoping that they will find more in-person experiences.
Totally agree. And then what for the industry? Same question. What's your predictions for the industry?
Oh my goodness. Here would be a good place to talk about what we're doing with World Active. So if you don't mind, I'd love to interject just a little bit. So I've just come back from FIBO, where we held the world's first World Active Summit. And World Active is the coming together, finally, 35 plus associations around the world are finally coming together to advocate for our industry with a united voice. And so this is really paramount, because now we can start having conversations that are with bigger stakeholders like World Health Organization. They've been looking to our sector saying, who do we talk to? Who's in charge here? And we didn't have a clear answer for them. So coming out of this summit, we now have accepted our charter, our manifesto. We've elected officers. I'm proud to represent North America on the council, but we have officers from many different continents, and it truly is it's a unique opportunity for us to start aligning on how we define our industry and the standards and credentials that we uphold in our industry globally, as well as things like equity and equality and access. And so those are all the types of things that we're hoping to tackle together.
That's a big mission, but I'm glad that you're fronting up, if I'm honest. So I'm sure it will move.
Yeah, we're really excited.
And then Amy, how does everyone get in contact with you? There's I joked, there was one listener that I said this to, and they gave them everything and ended up with 100 messages the next day. So be careful.
Well, listen, I love LinkedIn. So the best thing to do is to go find me in LinkedIn. And there, my personal account is Amy Boone Thompson. That's Boone, Amy Boone Thompson. And then just follow IDEA. And I like to say, if anything I said today fires you up, like I had that burning desire to buy this company. If you're fired up about anything we're talking about, global standards, upholding our highest professionalism, then just go to ideafit.com, IDEAFIT.com. That's also our Instagram handle and our Facebook. And there you can start to get involved with some of these important initiatives.
I feel like it needs to have a tagline of like, go follow the flame based on the fire inside. Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I like to say, well, I also say in our house, we say, don't talk about it, be about it. So again, that's what I would offer. Like, if you are excited about any of this, don't sit in your silo and try to do it by yourself. Join forces with us now. Again, we have a global coming together. IDEA is just one of the associations involved. Also, your audience could come to Idea World. And so if you are a professional listening and you need to fill your bucket, you need to get inspired, then Idea World is the only place to, well, not the only, but the best place, selfishly.
But the importance of doing that with your team as well, right? To understand what the professionals are going through. Because I think a lot of the shows, other than yours, if I'm honest, is that there's not a lot about the professional. There always is a side, maybe speaking or events slightly, but not the main focus, where I feel like you guys really bring that front and center.
Yeah. So we have 4 days of education that is geared toward the professional, but we also have a club and studio operator track. We have a CEO summit that's taking place. And then we have 2 days of the Nutrition and Fitness Expo. So it really is over 80 countries will be represented there. And we're expecting about 10,000 attendees. So Los Angeles, July 12th through 16th this year. And so if your listeners hear this and they want to come or just get involved with us through the website, ideafit.com.
Perfect. Well, look, Amy, thank you very much for being on the podcast. I learned a lot. I'm sure the listeners are going to learn a lot. And thank you for doing everything that you do.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Cheers, Amy. Bye.
Okay. Bye.